Hey, Jenny.
Welcome, Jenny. Welcome, Katie. Jenny, is that an Adidas blouse you have on?
I know it is.
One of my favorite things.
I know.
They're the best.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool, like, new colorway.
Yes, it is. Love it. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And I love the glasses.
Thank you.
Personality. Jenny brought personality. Yes, you fit right in.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Katie, this will be so cool if it's just a few of us. Like, it's so awesome when I get a chance to just have a smaller group and can lean in a little bit more.
Excellent.
But we will give our colleagues a little time.
Yeah, I can just do the tech check real fast. I'm Kara. I am tech support for Patty. And just, can you see and hear both Patty and myself? Okay, great. I'm going to spotlight you, Patty. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And I did continue recording, so they'll edit it down for the session.
Good luck to you with that. So I'm going to put this here. Cool. Nice. This is going to be fun.
We'll give it to 2:32, just to make sure people are back from there. Okay.
Yay, there we go. Right, people are getting back from break. Hey, Ben, welcome on. Hello, Laura, Christian, I see you. What's up? Welcome. We're gonna let our colleagues in. Just give it about 1 or 2 more minutes, folks. It's good to see you. Welcome back from break.
Hey, Ben, I already did a little bit of a tech check, but can you see and hear both of us?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great.
Coming through loud and clear.
Perfect. If anyone has any questions throughout Patty's session, just feel free to message me privately and I'll try to help you out.
Welcome on in, everyone. Giving our colleagues a little bit of time to get in. Welcome, M. Bourne and Aaron. Nice to see you. Looks like we're all popping in here. Carol, I'll take my lead from you when you're ready. Oh, folks are coming in.
Couple more.
Welcome, welcome. Soyla, it's good to see you. Jennifer, welcome. Rachel, nice to see you.
Patty, whenever you're ready.
All right.
People.
Robin is coming in. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. So good to see you. I hope you had a wonderful break. And just to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time, this is what we're on to today. You are participating in a discussion around the journey to optimal leadership, right? The collective and individual journey. And we have a whole 40 minutes to figure that out and get it in action. Actually, we have a wonderful 40 minutes together to have a colleague conversation, to lean in together and to bring our collective intelligence. So welcome on in again. My name is Patty Oji, and I am an executive coach and a consultant. I am the co-founder of Alpha People and Project Solutions. So I have a career in consulting, executive and leadership coaching, as well as team coaching. And my specialties are working in resilient and inclusive leadership, healthy, high-performing teams, which are results-oriented and healthy. And this is just my jam, and you are my people that I love being with. I very early on, I think in my early 20s is really when I started getting very close and exposed to people in senior and executive leadership. And just for the record, I believe in leadership at every level, beginning with self-leadership. But I think I had an unusual experience being behind sort of like the wall on the screen where leaders were in community with each other in trusted spaces, and they were being radically honest and real and passionate and heartbroken all at the same time. And I knew that I loved this work, and I loved the heart of what true, authentic, real leadership was about. And so that has really colored my whole lens and perspective and my trajectory. And I've had a number of roles and worked in a number of industries, but always able to partner with leaders and their teams. And it's been my honor and pleasure to do that. It's part of what I show up every day to do. Okay, so I'm gonna get that together soon. So we do leadership development and strategic consulting. Some of our values are really around authentic equity, inclusion, imperfect, really real, really honest, and a journey. Excellence. We want to provide and partner at levels that really build capacity, move the needle, make a difference, and honor real people. And in a collaborative fashion, I really believe in honoring all the voices of our system, of building equity and inclusion in parallel, not just what we say we do, but how we be and how we do with each other in the journey. So let's just lean in for a second here about our current context. So if we're calling weather, go ahead and use the chat box and tell me, what is some of the weather you've been experiencing in the last 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? You know, what's really been going on in your world? We know we've had a pandemic. We know we have social justice issues going on. We know we have climate change. What has it been like for you? What have you been working with? Let's just take it out from the mental to real life. We have a small enough group here where it'll be really cool to work with each other. Complex is right. So think about these domains: political, economic, social, technological, legal, and regulatory. This is the PESTO framework. Many of you probably know this from strategic planning, but they're domains that we look at to see the forces at play. Yeah, hot, then cold, then hot, then cold, then lukewarm, then boiling. Absolutely, always change. All these systems are interacting and moving, and there's an interconnectedness, a fear of uncertainty. Yeah, absolutely, and that's normal. Climbing, change. Some people are feeling stuck. Some people get excited about that. Complex, changing, slow and fast, and all at the same time. Absolutely. Disruption, 100% on levels. This acronym here on the side, there's an acronym that's been used for a number of years now, comes out of really the military arena, which is about the VUCA world. We live in a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's unstable, it's complex, it's ambiguous. And in the last few years, boy, if nothing else has brought that home, the events that we've been going through personally, as communities, as larger collectives, as a country, and as a connected people, brothers and sisters around the world. We live in volatile times, and what we know is that the volatility will continue. We're more connected and interdependent. We're globalized. And one of the things I love about the B Corp community is that you recognize the responsibility and the calling forward of leadership, what is required to be authentic, purpose-driven leaders who are stewards of our business and of our world. And so there's definitely a calling forward. Now we've got all this stuff happening in the world, and it's been happening, right? Like there's been volatility and it feels like it's mounting. And yet we know that we've been around excellent leaders, Many of us have been touched, have been shaped, have been mentored, have mentored from a distance. So put in the chat box, how do you know exceptional leadership? How do you know? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Go ahead and type that in. What's the impact? Feels like a warm hug. Yeah. I love the metaphor too. Feels like a warm bath sometimes when you're just submerged in something that is welcoming, belonging. It feels right. You got that good gut check, the heart check, comforting. It feels like being heard. And what is it like? You know this. You know an exceptional leader when you experience them. What are they like? Open-minded, psychological safety, candid and confident, empowered from exchanges with them. Yes, approachable. Feels like being trusted and believed, honored that your lived experience is really your lived experience and you get to have it. And nobody has to be wrong about their lived experience. And both can be right and all can be right. Trust, calming, accepting, resonance. That's what we're on about when we talk about optimal, and a shift, exceptional leadership. Exceptional leadership, we know it, we feel it, we see it, we sense it, and yet we know that it's something a lot bigger. We know that it's something that requires some intention. Leaders are fit for the complexity around us. We talked about all the forces at play. We talked about balancing the human with the outcome, with the task and the relationship, with the creative, with the reactions that we already have. Guiding, getting behind and pushing people rather than pulling them. So great, exceptional leaders are fit for complexity. And we just talked about all the ways that we're living in a complex world. And in some ways, this is just a simple 6-bullet thing. They're able to move away from things are this or that, or disjointed, or different, or separate, into being able to hold at one time, navigate, operate, and leverage complexity. And this is just a simple thing I threw together, but obviously there's thousands more nodes, right? And many more interconnections. So there's a terrain and there's domains of exceptional leadership. And I want to offer you these 4 domains for our conversation today. The domain of self, of team, organization, community, and societal. And like with most wonderful things in life, it's not that complicated, and yet it is extremely challenging to deepen, to learn, to be reflective, but also productive, to be outcomes oriented in each one of these domains as mirror and parallel processes at the same time. So on the self, we're looking at our inner operating system and our external impact. We're looking at what's the thing under the hood? What's our meaning-making system? What are our purpose, our values? What's the thing that we cannot not do if we know that? And we move into scaling leadership from self, scaling to the collective, to teams and organizations by building teams. I mean, the net about leadership, you could look at all 63 models of leadership development that's out there, and maybe some more coming. The net is that extraordinary leaders inspired a shared vision, build healthy, empowered teams, and coalesce them towards that vision, right? But how do we do that? Not so simple. It's the journey of a lifetime, really. And the B Corporation, you know, the community, about the societal and community stewardship, scaling impact again, disrupting systems, creating new systems, stewardship. We know that the days are gone when we could say, hey, that's not business problem. We don't get into that. We don't touch in that arena. Oh yeah, the politics, racial injustice and oppression. Oh no. All religious disruption. We don't touch that. Those days are gone, folks. It's all hands on deck right now. And I'll tell you one thing, you either get all hands on deck or you get out. And that's the world that we're living in right now. If we don't answer this call, we're going to become irrelevant because the consumer, the clients are calling us forward every single minute. So you hear an internal calling, there's an external calling forward as well. And in organizational scaling, we're looking at the whole systems. We're improving, we're innovating, we're being more productive, we're having greater impact, greater outcomes. And we're looking at cultural change on a larger level and structural change of the organization. So I love this metaphor, and I just invite you to take a look at this beautiful mountain range. Excellent leadership, exceptional leadership is being all in from the inside out. It's the ability to take perspectives. It's the ability to hold the if, and, therefore together all at the same time. It's being compelled by a purpose or a vision greater than self. And this is a journey that costs us nothing less than everything. And it is a beautiful journey. So if you're here today, I hope you're on for that journey. Whether the tension has stretched you a little bit, it hasn't broken the rubber band yet. So you're still here, you're all good, and you're on the journey. And together we can make this journey, because that's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to be alone. So I want to introduce you to a model, a model, and give you a general overview, kind of look under the hood of a model for extraordinary, exceptional leadership. I was a consultant from consultant to coach for several years before I landed on a model that I could really get behind as the person that I am, needing to be evidence-based, needing to be whole person, needing to be systemic, needing to be conscious, all of those things together. And like I said, there's about 63 of them out there. So today I'm going to share with you one of the models that I lean into very heavily in the work that I do with leaders, teams, and organizations. It is evidence-based, it is valid, it is reliable, it is conscious, it's about the whole person. It is used around the globe by some of the best organizations out there. And it's one of the pillars of the work that I do in executive coaching, leadership coaching, all of the above. I almost won't go into it without something like this. It is a model, and it is also a 360 assessment. So clients love the 360 because it just opens up the hood of what we're working with on the inside. And also it's something for us to hold on to on the journey. It's like the staffs and helping us get through the terrain as we go down this path and the other path. And it's expansive enough for us to be our fullest selves in the journey. So I don't want you to think about it as a 360, think about it as a model, as a framework that is flexible and is built for the whole person. So in general, the forces that are at play for us here ask us the question, do we maintain or do we grow? And there are cycles and patterns of behavior, thought, behavior, and reactions that we can lean into. We've all heard of like the fight or flight, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. You're going to come up with another F pretty soon. I don't know what it's going to be. But essentially, there's a threat, there's a problem, then there's a fear that gets triggered from that, and then there's a following up reaction. And this is a cycle that's a normal cycle for human beings to go through at certain stages. The problem with this cycle is that it can be effective when you get scared into action or safety or whatever the case is, but then it creates these very uneven outcomes. It is anxiety creating, it's stress creating, it's crazy making, it's burnout creating. And those of us who have been in recovering or who have worked with leaders that have this kind of pattern know the impact that it has on them and on everyone around them. And it doesn't mean that we're not well-meaning and well-intended. It's just an unhelpful pattern. And then there's the opportunity for us to grow in the way that we make meaning of the world around us and our inner operating system, so that we move towards a different model that creates outcomes, that scales outcomes, that is energy producing, that is triggered really, that the underlying part of it is our purpose and our vision connected to our passion, then connected into action. And it doesn't mean that we don't have the fear. It doesn't mean that we don't see a problem. I don't see problems. That doesn't happen, right? Hopefully it doesn't happen. It means that we're able to grow in our consciousness, to up-level our meaning-making system so that, yeah, that's here, I see you, but I'm choosing this one. this way of being. I'm choosing this pattern. I'm choosing this cycle. I'm choosing this outcome. And so it becomes our second nature now. So we're talking about disrupting patterns, getting under the hood, and looking at both all of these theories. I was going to say both, but the competencies. There's some real leadership competencies that are required. It's great to be a wonderful, conscious person, but there's some skills that are associated with this, some abilities. And then let's look at the assumptions. What is the tail wagging the dog here? What's driving the car? What's operating behind the background here that's always at play? I like to think of our antivirus in the computer or our operating system of the computer. You see what's happening right here, but there's something that's driving all that, right? There's some intelligence behind that. Then there's our natural style and personality, our way of being, our signature flair. And it's all good. There's room for all of it. You're going to notice that this model is a circle. So I just don't try to zoom in on this right now. Just understand that it's looking at what's going on, why it's going on, and what is the path for change. For the purpose of our conversation, we're going to look at the core competencies and domains. So we have relating, and this is really about how you build positive, healthy relationships with others in ways that brings out the best of them. Systems awareness. Can you look at the big picture? Can you improve? Can you innovate? Can you look at the health of all the parts independently and together? Can you take that higher perspective of the macro piece? Authenticity is not just being real, it's being real who you are, being in integrity. And it's also your level of courageousness. Can you be courageously authentic? Are you in integrity? Is who I see here the same person who I see over at Costco, over on the playground, over in the board meeting when things get really heated? Self-awareness is knowing yourself. I might have said system awareness was over here, excuse me. Self-awareness is not just knowing yourself, it's having an accurate picture and understanding of your inner self. Not what you think you are, but who you believe to be yourself, also how you impact others. It's also about a commitment to continuous personal and professional development. And then we have achieving. We're looking at outcomes. We're looking at making things happen, right? And so each one of these summary domains can be broken down to individual domains within. So that's what you're seeing under here. Under relating, that's the summary domain. Then we have caring connection, fosters team play, collaborator, mentoring, development, interpersonal intelligence. So that's the setup of this. If you were to look at the full model, you'd see that each one of these could be divided into even more pie slices. And you'll notice that I went to the top half. The bottom half of this model is really some standard reactive tendencies or styles. We all exhibit them. We all have them. We all grow through them, hopefully, and they are helpful in their own way. They're just not scalable. These are the ones that are anxiety and stress creating, that are limiting in their outcome. What got you here will not get you there on the journey of leadership. So they have great value, but they're often overused. And any strength overused is reactive. So we call the bottom half the reactive styles. Think of it this way as like half of the pie shape. Obviously, I like food. So that's complying. And that's really about our identity being tied to being accepted and liked. And that's human nature too. We need that. And there's good in that, right? When it's overused, it's toxic. The same is true for protecting. And that's when our identity is tied to being knowledgeable and expert in a certain area. That is helpful, of course. We need subject matter experts, and yet it comes across as distant, walled off, aloof, not helpful. And my particular, drink of choice here is the controlling side. And that's when our identity, the value, how we see ourselves and our value and worth in the world is tied to achievement, get it done at all costs, by any cost, no matter what it costs yourself or the people around you. And there's beauty in that. We need doers. We need folks that get it done. And again, it's about leveraging the strengths from the reactive into the creative and growing through that process. This is not just a leadership development thing. This is an adult developmental journey. And it is estimated that about 70 to 80% of adults are operating right here in the reactive structure. There's so much room for us to grow this strength, this energy that is here into the creative, where we can leverage it, where we can scale it beyond what's typical, the norm. Okay, so think about that. 70 to 80% of us are operating here because after youth, after childhood, development is now by choice or by pursuit. Or maybe you get tossed into a very tense, difficult situation that says sink or swim. And there's a tension there. And hopefully that tension stretches you to the point where you move towards development, right? Stretches you where you move towards development. But for some folks, the stretch stays there and they just keep that tension there. But the tension can be generative and it can pull you up towards a more expansive way of being and leading. Yeah, so this is resonating. Try to find yourself. We do all of them, okay? To all degrees. We all have all of them. But which one is your reactive style of choice? Feel into that. Complying, pleasing, wanting to be accepted, beautiful, relationship-based. Not gonna rock the boat. Not gonna go to bat. Not gonna always have the very difficult conversations with self and others. Because at the core of this is our identity. I am valuable if. So we've seen the reactive, we've seen the creative competencies. This model also has competencies related to people and task. So for our purposes, I was just focusing on the inner circle. The outer circle gets much more granular with the individual competencies. But we have people and tasks. So if you cut this down the middle, the people competencies are here. So part of protecting, complying, relating, self-awareness, and authenticity relates to people work. And then the other half relates to task work. And we need both. We need both, but we say people before task. Right? All right, have you located yourself on reactive, creative? Do you have a gut check for where you are, where you lean towards, where maybe you've grown out of? There's beauty in that. Honor that. Honor the good in that. And know that there are more expansive ways of approaching how we be in the world. So if you're getting a little frustrated with yourself at times or with others around you, know that part of it could just be developmental. But the beauty of that is that there's a path forward ahead of us. So again, this just divides it into reactive people, creative people, right? So there's ways of being people-oriented that are reactive, and there's ways of being people-oriented that are creative. So each one of these domains has its mirror, has the ability to pull that energy up and scale it. What we know is that effective leaders create better organizations. We know that, right? We know that. There's plenty of data to speak to that. This talks just a little bit about the developmental journey, the human adult developmental journey. From egocentric, we know a lot of young people, youth, me, the world revolves around me. Then we go into socialize here where we're more reactive. We become parts of groups, important others. And we need to get in and fit in. We are meant to be in community. So we try to fit in and we accept the socialized norms at the expense of our own authorship, our own voice, having to fit in, finding the ways, being taught how to fit in by being pleasing, by being compliant, by being controlling and successful. Get out there and go do that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, by being super smart and knowledgeable, knowing everything, right? And as we grow through the developmental journey, we find self-authorship, self-transforming. And this is where we see like all the greatest leaders of our times and times before, Dr. King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, on, the wisdom teachers operating here and in here, right? Like here and in here. So we continue to unfold sort of these pieces that are tying us in our mind. And I'll be the first to say this is not a perfect model. This is a hierarchical model by nature, and that has its issues. It's not a complete answer. It's part of a very good answer. Okay. So we see here that most reactive leaders are in the socialized state, right? Where you're fitting in. And you see the leadership growth, the leadership effectiveness. Then the more developed your meaning-making system is, the more effective your leadership is as well. Okay, so the best leaders are at these higher levels of meaning making. And for those of you that love data and love the research, here you go. Leadership effectiveness increases as your creative competency increases as well. That creative half. You see the correlations here for each one of the dimensions here in the creative half, how they correlate to leadership effectiveness. The Leadership Circle profile has one of the largest, if not the largest, database of leadership data that exists today. And then you see the reverse. The reactive tendencies are correlated with poor performance and poor leadership effectiveness. Okay. So a little bit more here for the sake of time. You can see the correlations here to the different dimensions. So we know this. We know that when we looked at the different aspects of business performance, organizational performance, that it's all correlated with having a higher level of creativity or a more elaborated creative mind structure. Okay, business performance increases obviously as leadership effectiveness increases. All right, so the highest performing leaders, aggregate profiles across the board. I think there's over 125,000 profiles in the database at this point. Of those leaders who possess the best business outcomes were the highest performing in the creative sector. So you see this, they have much more shading. Just look at this gray green, and it shows like the amount of shading on the creative versus on the reactive. And the same is true for those with the lowest performing organizations, much higher in the reactive than in the creative. So here we have a generative tension, right? We have the context, the VUCA context, the complexity demanding more of us. We have, for many of us, a socialized meaning-making system where we really, what the external environment is calling us forward for is here, up here and up here. So we see this gap here, we see this tension. The beauty of this is that the tension can be generative and that there is a path ahead of us. We've never arrived. All right, so I went through this a little bit with you on what is happening here. What is the inner narrative? What is the inner meaning making here? Identity, safety, and worth, right? My identity means I am tied to something for safety and worth. And here we see what it is in the complying, again, the protecting and the controlling. And those are really the beautiful ground from which we grow. We've got to grow. You don't get to bypass this part. We don't get to just jump over. It's not like the beach body fitness, get your beach body in 5 weeks. Like that doesn't even work. The beauty of this and the truth of it is, and we can have compassion and empathy for ourselves and others when we realize that we've got to grow through this. We've got to glean the most beautiful parts of this to create the roots that grow upwards for this tree. All right. So when we step into leadership, we make a promise of leadership to those that are in community with us. And the promise is around creating direction and meaning, engagement and accountability, focus and execution. And these are the pieces that lead to effective leadership. So we know this. Effective leadership translates into better business performance. Leadership effectiveness is a primary contributor to business performance. Scaling leadership is critical. Collective leadership is critical because the organization cannot go beyond its leadership culture, not its leaders, just individuals, but its leadership culture, its leadership system. And a system that we're talking about here are the people, all of the folks that are present, that make up our community, that are players, that are stakeholders, that are enrolled in our vision, that we're in relationship with, whether we like it or not, right? Newsflash, we're in relationship with folks. So this is what we're on for in this journey. And this is what I'm hoping that you'll take the opportunity to reflect on, to think about, and to look at your path forward for optimal leadership, right? Let's call it exceptional leadership. Let's call it resilient leadership. Let's call it all-in leadership. That's what we're on for. We have a few minutes left, and I'd like to hear from you. Any questions or concerns, or insights, like what's landing for you? What are you taking away? What else? Before we go there, here's a little housekeeping. Stay in touch with me. If you would like some follow-up to this, I'll put together a little care package for you of some resources that'll have an article and maybe a brochure and overview. There's also a free self-assessment to the Leadership Circle profile that you could take online. You know, that's only half the story because it's your perspective of yourself and not others around you. But there's some really great materials to start sinking our teeth into and continue our journey from wherever you are. And I'll put this in the chat box. For wherever you are in the journey to wherever your next peak is, right? From wherever you are today to whatever your next is, there is a developmental path, there's a support path. Don't go it alone. Get in community, get support from a mentor, from a coach, from trusted others, from people who know you, love you, who want the best for you, from people who will tell you the truth, from your fellow B Corps people out here. So I'll put this in the chat box. Reach out to me. I'll send you a little care package. I would love to hear from you. And with that, I'm going to stop the share and just open up the floor for any insights that you're having. Like, what's something you're taking away from this? There's enough of us here. We could just have a conversation. Take yourself off of mute. We have a few minutes and feel free to just chime in. Yeah, thank you all for the chats that you put in. The framework is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, there's no fast forward. Thanks, Soila. Thanks for saying that. It's not, it's like honor the journey, right? Honor the journey. I look back and I want to be cringy about it, but honor the journey, right? And we're growing and developing. And I can guarantee you that it will change who you are as a human being and everywhere you're showing up in the world. Thanks. Who else has something that they'd like to share? We've got just a couple of minutes, just one person. What's something you're taking away from this? Just take yourself off of mute.
I'll go. It was, all the data points were really interesting to look at. And I already kind of put the arrows in the chat for Soila's comment, but everybody wants a shortcut to good leadership, but you really have to put in the foundation to get to where you want to be and become a strong leader.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. It's definitely a journey, and the fact that you're in is all that matters, right? We're going to do it imperfectly and human and beautifully together. Yeah. Anybody else for something they're taking away from this session? What are you going to do with this? That's what I'm curious about. What's the point? So what? You listened to me for 40 minutes. Thank you. You got great faces. Love looking at them. What are you going to do with this?
So I'll go ahead and share.
Thank you, Soila.
What really spoke to me was where you said that leadership really is on all levels. You know, I'm not a C-suite exec. I'm not in a managerial role, but I do see myself as a leader in my team, even though I may not be the leader, right?
That's right.
So that really spoke to me, in the fact that we all have a hand in making sure that we do things correctly, and that we stick to our values, especially as B
Yeah.
Corps. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that you're giving highlight to the fact that we have agency to do that at any level where we may be.
Absolutely. Thank you, Soila. Appreciate that. Yeah, leadership at every level, and especially beginning with self-leadership. Absolutely. Thanks. Any last person? We're wrapping up pretty soon. All right. Well, it's been awesome. Thank you, B Corpers. You guys are amazing. Keep doing the wonderful work that you do in the world. It's a pleasure to be in community with you. Email me, reach out. I'll send you a mini care package. Would love to get to know you and talk to you at some point.
Hey,
That-
Patty,
that
there's
wraps it for us.
Patty,
you.
that was great.
Thank you.
Patty, there's one
you.
message in the chat
Okay.
asking for the link to the assessment. Are you?
Yep.
able to
Email
get in?
me. Email me and I'll send you the link. I'll send you the
Okay.
little package. Yep. Go ahead and
Awesome,
do it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yay,
you.
thank you everyone. Have a great
Thanks
rest
so
of your
much.
day. It's wonderful seeing you. Take care. Bye. And that won't stop. Okay.